morning. Good morning. Welcome. This is Amma Manson on all social media platforms. It's good to see you. So in the last few days, my inbox has been filled with requests. Amma, can you talk about coronavirus? Amma, can you respond? You do know that this is an area of interest to me. A lot of you will remember my remarks about the malaria vaccine, 1st of May last year, so almost a year. Exactly. And now we will be discussing the coronavirus. But let's just get a few things out of the way before we actually talk facts. If you are in 2020 and you've not heard about the coronavirus, you are either not on this planet Earth or you must be in some really remote corner, which is very unlikely with the technological age we have. You probably have heard about it. People ask me, Amma, do you think the government are being a bit dramatic? They might well be. They might well be. But do I want to find out? No. They might be overly dramatic, but I'm happy to comply with everything they say. If it allows it to pass me by, I definitely would take that route. Thank you very much. The government has its own advice. I have also looked up research. I've come up with my own little practices. I will share some of those with you. But today, I really want to debunk some common facts that people are twisting for various reasons. Some of those reasons are not apparent to me. So listen, coronavirus is one which is spread by direct contact with sputum, a bit like Ebola, body tissue fluid. If you come in contact with that and it manages to make its way into your respiratory tract, that is when you do have a problem. It affects your lungs and your lungs only, as far as I know right now. There is a lot of panic. Should we all be stocking everything from the shops? Probably not. But should you keep your shelves empty? Certainly not wise. Certainly not wise. You should have some supplies for sure, but you should also not panic buy and stock because it might not even be necessary, and you also need to be a little bit more aware of other people and their needs as well. Why does the whole supermarket need to be in your kitchen cabinets when other people cannot buy? So yes, there might be rationing, there might be a lot of things, food will be difficult to acquire, and all these things, very possible. What I don't understand is toilet roll. I've never really understood why toilet roll is in hot demand at the moment. But let's talk facts anyway. Listen. People who have coronavirus cannot be in the same hospitals as the rest of us with everyday illnesses. That's the reason why governments have decided to have isolation hospitals. Because these guys know how contagious it is. These guys know how much of an advantage this particular virus takes of a compromised immune system and how quickly it acts to remove the patients. The mortality rate is not too high when you look at the infection numbers. But for people with compromised immune system, those rates are significantly higher. And it's one government will not want to take a risk on. So somebody asked me, Amma, why should the government dedicate $100 million to build a hospital? Because the government needs to keep you alive. The government needs to keep alive a working force, people who will work to sustain the economy. So no, it's not for one person and it's not for a small group. It's for a collective. And it's a strategy to keep more people alive, to make sure that you have quarantine hospitals, places where people who have this particular virus are confined, only treated by very technically skilled medical personnel with equipment unlike what we have in our normal health system. So I was explaining to somebody yesterday, people in Kolebu and some hospitals I went to when I was in Ghana the last time, people had gloves on and they served like 50 or 100 patients before my very eyes with the same pair of gloves, used to wipe something for somebody, to inject somebody, to put in an oral suspension for a kid, to wipe somebody's brow, to go here, to come there. In a hospital setting, that's actually quite scary ordinarily anyway, because we are there for different reasons. There's absolutely no reason why we should cross-infect each other because we've come to seek medical help. And this is why isolation hospitals are built. Are they necessary? Of course they are. Does it require special investment? Yes, it does. Could we have used that money for something else? Probably. But right now, this is the most judicious use of money. People were asking me, Amma, so there is not a confirmed case here. Why should we build an isolation center? It's called preparation. Preempting to prevent. Where I am at the moment, the minute they heard, they created an area. It's almost a whole village on its own, just for that service. At the moment, if you test positive from an airport, you are not allowed in the country. You are whisked so quickly into wherever this facility is. You stay there and receive medical treatment. A friend is in there and her husband says that you receive food 3 times a day, packaged, dropped at your door, with the person running off at high speed, and you come collect, eat, consume. Your waste is actually contained. Nothing from that apartment is allowed to go into the ordinary system. They are collected, incarcerated. Many, many things happen differently from what happens in the environment, because what they are trying to do is to restrict the contagion to people it's already infected, to prevent cross-infection, and to eliminate the contagion from new infections, because the contagion, funnily enough, people who survive it become immune to it. Those of us who have not experienced it are not immune. And because people who've survived it become immune, it cannot reinfect those people. And as long as it's stopped from spreading to new victims, this contagion will be restricted, isolated, and that's one way to make sure that it does not reproduce and it does not spread. It's a good strategy. Should $100 million be spent on building a facility just in case? Yes, because we just might. Looking at the numbers and how this thing has spread in the last 2 months, yes, they should spend maybe even more. No, I don't think the facility only should be in Accra. It should be in Kumasi. There should be one in Sunyani. There should be some near the border areas. Definitely one up near where Hamlet is. Should be one near Doma in the vicinity of the borders to La Côte d'Ivoire. Should be some in the Volta region. I don't know the new region name, so you're going to have to forgive me. But places where we have entry and exits, where it's likely that people might be screened, where we might find people who are infected, citizens who are returning. You cannot return them where they came from, but you cannot send them into the public as well. Those people need to have somewhere to live, somewhere to be kept. They need a strategy for feeding them. Is this an opportunity for somebody to spend a buck or two? Probably, but that's not of interest to me right now, and that shouldn't be your interest either. We are looking at collective survival, and when we finish collective survival and we think somebody should be held accountable, we clearly should hold them accountable. But survival first, accountability later. That's the way I see this particular one. So let's talk through this corona. Let's work through why it should not make you panic any differently, but why it should make you act differently. It is one of those times when hygiene comes up to the fore. I've seen people making all sorts of concoctions. Hand sanitizer, this one, Cosmo, might be useful. I'm not advertising for the brand in any way. But it says isopropyl alcohol, and it's 70% isopropyl alcohol, which is about the cutoff point for the alcohol-based hand sanitizer. But do you guys even know that that's actually not the best way to prevent this corona? The best way to prevent this corona is for you to have soap and water, wash your hands for about 40 seconds. I will extend it to a minute. I am happy to be over the top, don't really care. I would take every precaution necessary and unnecessary if it guarantees that I might avoid being one of the statistics at this particular period. I would. It is your hands washed under running water for 40 seconds to a minute. That's the best way to remove the coronavirus. The other thing to do is not to be sharing cups and stuff in public places. So I am the producer of these little customized mugs. You want some, come see me. I'll personalize for you. Anti-corona teacups, anti-corona travel mugs. But actually, the content of my mug is of more interest to me this morning. In here this morning, I have 1 teaspoonful of ginger, raw dry ginger, and I have 1 teaspoonful of turmeric. I also have a tea bag in there. and I have this lovely concoction with a few 2 teaspoonfuls of lemon juice, and it's a lovely tea and it hits my throat. Why am I drinking it this morning? I am one who is always susceptible to tonsillitis and sore throats. I get them so regularly. I got up this morning, my throat was a bit raw, and I knew that one of the best things to do for myself once my throat is raw is to hit it and to get in things that are antibacterial, things that are anti-inflammatory. I don't know what's causing this one, but I do know that this drink actually boosts my immune system. It gives my defense mechanism a chance to fight whatever goes in. It is hot, so even if my throat is sore, that warmness of it always does make you feel better. So, fully armed with my drink, fully armed with my hand sanitizer where necessary. I have soap and running water. And then I am doing my fortification program. My fortification program at the moment revolves around Juice Plus, and they are 100% fruit and vegetable capsules. So this is the berry blend. I do have the omega blend. I have already consumed those this morning. If you are familiar with me, I've also started a program with magnesium capsules. So definitely my magnesium capsules are going in. Magnesium is really good because it's a cofactor, coenzymes, and it helps in the production of necessary enzymes and their effectiveness when in use. So magnesium is definitely one I am adding to this. I have the Juice Plus Omega blend. Is 5 blends of omega, not just omega-3. And again, that blend seems to be a really good store of cofactors. It's things that activate enzymes and make things that I'm already producing work well for me. I'm happy to do that. All these things sum up in one bit: immune system fortification. If you've not started your immune system fortification, I think that's a bit childish in the prevailing circumstances. People with weaker immune systems are more likely to be impacted negatively if they come in contact with the coronavirus. Let me take my magnesium. Right. I am not the most stylish consumer of capsules and tablets. If you know me, that will not be familiar with you. Okay, so do governments need to restrict people and their movement? So I've been home for this week. My government made the very brave decision, where I am right now, to send us home. And when they first did it, it was a bit dramatic. The world had not responded. I was wondering what was going on. So I called a friend of mine who is a medical researcher. And I said to my friend, I would like to have a conversation with you about this one because right now I don't know what to do. And my friend says, you know what, I wish that I was where you were right now. Because I would like people to take common sense approaches to emergencies like this. No, I don't want people to do the Italy thing, wait till the last minute and then scrap trying to fix. I would rather, where I am, people took the view of prevention is better than cure. Reduce contact with other people. So my family and I, we are not homebodies at all, the kids and I. My husband fares much better when we are confined in the house. We actually detest being in the house for extended periods, but we've had to modify our lives to reflect prevailing circumstances and restrict contact with external people as much as we can. This is common sense. This should not be determined by any government. This is pure gumption. If you are in a region where people are already not infected, the chances that you might infect each other spontaneously is quite low. I don't have the contagion. You don't have the contagion. We operate in an isolated area, not in contact with other people. We are unlikely to, one, be infected and to pass it on to anybody. That's one of the reasons why people are choosing to be homebodies at this time. And that's why governments are choosing to cut areas where we have direct contact consistently for extended periods of the day, aka schools, colleges, right? Once that is done, we are home, we've not come in contact with anybody else, then we are safe. If we restrict contact with other people because you don't know people's exposure limits, you can't tell. People can incubate for a long time without showing any symptoms. You might come in contact with people who look perfectly fine and pick up the contagion, and you would not know. So it's much better right now. It's very good business for people who've learned to do online services. Netflix is cashing it in for sure. Netflix is cashing it in from my end because we would be watching Netflix here. We would not go to the cinema. People who sell on demand new release films will be doing very well because things that I'd rather have gone seen in a cinema will be seen from my own screen. Thank you very much, because I do not know who my neighbor would be in the cinema. Yes, eating in is definitely going to become more fashionable than eating out. Yes, definitely. And so I've been doing a series of videos on this. If you provide services, if you are somebody who wants to take advantage of this period, you need to learn to provide your service remotely. You need to do it using digital media. You need to find a way of getting people to consume what you do without you coming in direct contact with them. Then you are likely to be fine during this episode. Yes, we are home. Yes, we need food. Yes, we need to be entertained. Can you provide any of those things? Then it could be really good for you. This thing should not be politicized, not at all. Should we be concerned? Of course we should, from a health point of view, and more importantly, from an economic point of view. There are many businesses about to go bankrupt because of this, because they are totally dependent on face-to-face direct contact interaction. If your business is like that, it's a problem for you, and the earlier you look into alternatives of doing business without direct contact, the better. It is not a political decision when a country decides to shut down. It is not stupid if somebody decides to retreat and surrender like most people have. And in fact, the UK's strategy is also not stupid either, because at the moment, nobody's vindicated. We don't know. Each person looks at the facts and everybody's trying to respond as well as they can in the light of the evidence they have in front of them. So the UK is hoping to do herd immunity. The UK can go for herd immunity because the UK has an extensive healthcare system already in place. They might not have specific hospitals built, but they can quickly remove patients from one hospital and free one to become an emergency coronavirus hospital. And there are many hospitals well within areas which are accessible. So they can go for herd immunity because they do have the healthcare systems to be able to facilitate that. Are you recommending that our people also do the same? With which hospitals again? With which staff to patient ratios again? So no, the response in America definitely will not be the same as the response in the UK, would definitely not be the same as the response where I am or the response anywhere else in Africa. The good thing for people in Africa is this, especially those of you in West Africa. Coronavirus, this episode could not have come at a better time for us because we are in our stupidly hot season. The contagion does not like elevated temperatures. The contagion prefers colder temperatures. Thank the good Lord for that. And as long as it is hot, as long as the survival chances of this contagion are reduced and restricted, common sense approaches can go a long way to help people in restricting reinfection, restricting infecting other people, and thus sustaining the life cycle of the contagion. It is good that it is hot. Thank God for that. It is good that we learn hygiene. It is very important we improve our hygiene. It is important that we change some of our habits. You no longer shake hands with people in areas where you know people have been exposed. There's a joke about shaking feet. Well, shake feet if it helps. Do whatever, nod your head if it helps. Prince Charles was trying to greet somebody and the gentleman says, nope, not in the light of this, not even with the prince. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's fine for you to do that. Some of those steps will not be taken by government. Some of those things are common sense steps that you as a citizen, as an individual, will have to learn to do for yourself and do for your loved ones. I do not want to hear people making noise about money being spent on this, because money should be spent in preventative action. There hasn't been a coronavirus incident yet. What do you want? 1,000 cases before we have a strategy? Is that what you are recommending? People are spending the money. Really? Is that what we're going to discuss right now in this emergency? Or are we going to hush it for once? And are we going to actually look at what needs to be done and where the funding will come from? Just in case some of you don't know, the World Health Organization and many institutions around the world do have ad hoc emergency funds which are released on emergencies. You might well find that some of those articles have been triggered, and people in certain places may receive it because they see them as hotspots. Before you comment about the source of funding for any of these coronavirus responses, can you actually go and do a bit of research? Find out where the funding is before you come to public to expose ignorance and to propagate nonsense. We don't have time for that kind of thing on our airwaves. We do need information. We lack information. We should receive information. And that's what media channels of all types, social or otherwise, should be used for. Facebook is still allowing everybody to have a live video. Doesn't mean that you should come and propagate ignorance when you've not double-checked your facts. That you should come and blame people for unnecessary things because you've seen an opportunity to make noise. No, people's responses are definitely guarded, and why shouldn't it be? Look at the little bit of the information which is shared in the public and look at public response and people's behavior, hoarding, fighting over unnecessary things. Why should the government tell you everything? Because a lot of us are incapable of acting mature when information is given to us. So on some occasions, some information has to be restricted from the general public. When the general public cannot do anything to change anything, some information should not necessarily be shared. I am a firm believer of that. Some information should be classified and censored. Some information should be shared where necessary. And each person should receive the most important information of all, is that your safety is your responsibility. Your continual safety is your job. The government might do certain things to help you if they can, but ultimately it's your choices. It's your decision to mingle or otherwise. It's the type of people you circulate with which will determine your survival chances. If you come in contact with a contagion, your hygiene practices will determine whether you pick it up or not. Drinking regularly at this stage, especially when you have a sore throat, is one of the reasons why I have this. It is medical guidance, in fact, because if it is in fact this contagion causing my sore throat, what I want is to drink and to wash it into my alimentary canal, my food canal. In my food canal, there's a lot of defense mechanisms, including hydrochloric acid in my stomach and the many enzymes this virus will encounter. Besides, my alimentary canal is actually not susceptible to this virus. It does not affect your digestive system. So basically, the virus will work its way through, and a few hours, a few days' time, it will exit my body via the other end, episode finished. If this happens to be in my mouth area, and I allow it to be dry, and I don't moisten that area, this will go from that area not into my alimentary canal, but it will go into my trachea, into my respiratory system, and that's where the problem begins, because the susceptible organ is the lung. Fibrosis of the lung is exactly what the main problem is. The other symptoms are not really that important, that's significant. They are like the typical flu symptoms. It is the fibrosis of your lungs, which is the great determinant of your survival, the extent to which you have the fibrosis. If you didn't get it in your lungs in the first place, your chances of fibrosis might be as low as any ordinary day. So drink fluid regularly. If you can make them hot rather than cold fluids, that would be great. Drink from containers and cups that are personal to you. Wash them regularly. Sterilize them frequently. Just as you wash your hands frequently, keep some food in the house, but apply common sense to that food. You don't want to be starving. You definitely don't. You don't want the supermarket in your house either. You certainly don't. That is irresponsible. It is a waste of money. It makes sure that other people don't get regular supplies. It creates unnecessary panic. It makes it so prime for thieves to up prices of things because the demand has gone significantly higher. Do not allow people who take advantage of situations, take advantage of all of us because you don't want to apply common sense. Get some basic supplies, but keep it very basic so that we can all continue to get a regular stream of basic supplies. 1 or 2 people should not hoard it all. That is wrong. That is socially irresponsible. I will make another video. I will debunk particular things. I shared a video yesterday of a gentleman who was on Facebook. And this gentleman on Facebook was trying to explain some things. And in fact, the way this gentleman explained some things really did cause me worry. And that's the reason why I shared the video, for those of you who were asking. I shared it because I wanted you to listen. I shared it because I want us to talk. Nanayao, can you get the paprika for me, please? It's by my bedside. I'm waiting for a speaker. And when my speakers arrive and the volume is better, I will let us discuss this gentleman's video. It was my first time of coming across this gentleman. I can't even remember his name. I have nothing personal against him or with him or for him, for sure. But his points about, his name is Nana Ofori Ampabeng II on Facebook. Thank you. The title of the video is Virus Has Nothing to Do with Africans or Black Community. Now that's the headline statement is the first place I want to start. This virus has everything to do with everybody and every community. This virus concerns all of us. One person's foolishness allows the contagion to enter an incubator and becomes a potential spread to the rest of us. Green people should be concerned, blue people should be concerned, white people should be concerned, pink, black, gray, and every color and shade in between should be concerned because this is a public safety event. He says the government of Ghana needs to develop and improve our health facilities. I bang on agree with that one for sure. He says let's be factual about the virus and prove any black victim amongst the death cases abroad. Now that's my first point of contention. The Chinese will not be reporting the death of black people because they are not looking to inflate the numbers. The numbers are high enough, thank you very much. They don't particularly care about any national who is there as a student or doing whatever. They would report on citizens, thank you. And people, if you find cases which are not claimed, ones that people don't know about much, nobody's about to publicize that one, my brother. That is one. There is a new basketball player who has now tested positive. So yes, it debunks the whole thing of black people don't get coronavirus. Please don't listen to that nonsense because it makes you let your guard down and it makes you vulnerable. That's not a position of wisdom. That is not a position of wisdom, my people. We will continue in a bit.